They said my wife was breaking into our own house. 10 minutes later, police lights were flashing against my steel gate, and I was standing on the balcony with an M60 machine gun gleaming under the sun. But the only thing I was firing that day was the law. And our neighbor, our HOA president, had no idea the war she'd just started. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Jack Coburn, 42 years old, recently retired defense engineer. I spent 2 decades designing security systems for government facilities that couldn't afford to fail. My wife Elena worked as a data analyst for DARPA until budget cuts pushed her out. We thought moving to Westfield Gardens, a quiet, gated community, would be our peaceful new start. We were wrong. That first afternoon, Elena was hauling boxes from the garage, one of them stamped with the DARPA logo. I caught sight of Beverly Monroe, our HOA president and neighbor across the street, watching us through her window. Her face turned pale like she'd just seen a ghost. And within minutes, she was on the phone screaming into 911 that a suspicious person was breaking into my house. The irony, Elena had the keys in her hand. Next thing I knew, 2 squad cars screeched down our street sirens, blaring like they were chasing a fugitive. But instead of charging in, they hit my steel gate locked tight. Sirens echoed, alarms clicked on cameras, rolled. And there I stood, calm as stone, one hand resting on my grandfather's decommissioned M60 war memorial, the other holding a copy of the Fourth Amendment. Officers, I called through the intercom. Do you have a search warrant? Or are you just sightseeing? They hesitated. Elena, cool as ever, recorded everything. She asked for probable cause, proof of suspicion, the whole drill. Within minutes, their tough entrance melted into awkward stammering. Meanwhile, Beverly had vanished behind her curtains, leaving them stranded on our property with no legal footing. Eventually, the cops asked for IDs and proof of residence. We gave them deeds, moving contracts, everything neat and clean. They knew it. They backed off. But as they drove away, I caught a glimpse of Beverly on her phone again, her tone urgent, her face set in panic. "This just got bigger," she hissed to someone on the other end. That was the moment I realized we hadn't just moved into a quiet suburb. We'd stepped straight into a battlefield. Act 2. Escalation and the twist. The next morning I went down to the county clerk's office. Nothing dangerous, just me, a driver's license, and the right to look at public records. And what I found? It floored me. The real Beverly Monroe had died in a car accident 3 years ago. The woman running our HOA wasn't Beverly at all. She was Margaret Maggie Kellerman, a convicted felon once arrested for financial fraud and trying to sell defense secrets to foreign buyers. She'd served prison time, then slipped into this neighborhood under a dead woman's name. So no, Beverly wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was a professional criminal hiding in plain sight. At first, Elena and I thought, okay, maybe it's just her. But then things escalated. Fast. Neighbors began receiving anonymous emails, all painting Elena as some kind of national security threat. Your new resident may be a spy. Suspicious DARPA connections. The smear campaign was vicious, detailed, and perfectly timed to isolate us. And it worked. People started crossing the street to avoid Elena. Conversations stopped when we walked into a room. Even Mrs. Peterson, who used to smile at us, now looked at Elena like she was radioactive. That night, Elena sat at the table reading those emails. Her hands were steady, but I saw the hurt in her eyes. "Jack," she whispered, "maybe we made a mistake moving here." I didn't say it out loud, but I thought the same thing. My brother David had gone through this 2 years earlier in California. His HOA had used rumors and fake charges to push him out. He lost his house. And I could feel the same trap closing around us. For the first time in years, I doubted myself. Maybe fighting this wasn't worth it. Maybe walking away was the smarter move. But Elena, God bless her, she didn't flinch. Instead, she pulled up metadata from the emails. "Look at this," she said, "the IP address. All these messages trace back to the same source, right here, in our neighborhood." She dug deeper. The photos attached to the emails doctored. Metadata showed they were taken weeks before we even moved in. And the camera registered to capture them belonged to none other than Beverly Monroe, the fake Beverly, Maggie Kellerman. It wasn't paranoia, it was a hit job. And then came the turning point. One evening, Michael Torres, the HOA treasurer, showed up at our door. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He handed me a manila folder and whispered, "I can't stay quiet anymore." Inside was the proof fraudulent invoices, shell companies' signatures, linking Maggie to over $130,000 stolen from our community. Fake pool repairs, fake playground upgrades, fake streetlights. All money funneled into Maggie's pockets with legal paperwork drafted by a local attorney, Bill Harrison. It wasn't just corruption, it was organized crime. And suddenly we weren't alone. The very next day, my phone rang. Detective Rachel Carter, FBI Financial Crimes Unit. They'd been watching Maggie for months, trying to connect her fraud across multiple HOAs in several states. But they didn't have enough evidence. Until now. Act 3, the showdown. The FBI, the local police chief, even Michael, the treasurer, we started working together. The plan: expose Maggie in front of the entire community while federal agents stood by to move in. It all came down to one HOA meeting. Elena and I arrived early, setting up projectors and slides. As neighbors trickled in, they saw photos flashing on the screen, the pool that hadn't been cleaned in years, playgrounds untouched since construction, the same busted streetlights still flickering despite tens of thousands billed for upgrades. Maggie walked in like she owned the place. Tailored suit, fake smile, Bill Harrison right at her side. She had no idea the room was wired with FBI recording equipment. Elena started. Calm, steady voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we're about to show you is evidence of crimes committed against this community." She clicked to the first slide, a death certificate. "The woman you know as Beverly Monroe died in 2016. The person standing before you is actually Margaret Kellerman, convicted felon." Gasps erupted. Whispering spread like wildfire. Maggie gripped the table, her knuckles white. Then Michael stepped forward. He laid out the books, page after page of embezzled funds. Over $130,000 stolen from you. From us. None of the projects you paid for were real. Maggie's composure cracked. Her eyes darted to the exits, but marshals blocked every door. And then came the kill shot. Detective Carter walked up, badge flashing. Count 3 wire fraud. Count 4 conspiracy to commit racketeering. She hit play on a recording. Maggie's voice filled the room. "We can't let people like Coburn dig around. Better to eliminate him before it becomes a problem." The silence was deafening. Harrison tried to slip out. Marshals grabbed him before he made it 2 steps. His face drained of color as Carter read the charges against him: racketeering, wire fraud, money laundering. Finally, the handcuffs clicked around Maggie's wrists. Her eyes locked on me, cold and burning with hate. "You don't know what you've destroyed," she hissed. "This network makes millions. They won't just let this go." And then she was gone, dragged out of the room, her empire crumbling behind her. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just stood there watching neighbors who'd once avoided us stare in shock at the truth that had been festering right under their noses. Because in that moment, I knew this was bigger than one corrupt HOA. This was a war being fought in neighborhoods all across the country. Closing line. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. It sometimes hides behind HOA bylaws and fake smiles. And the only way to beat it is to stand your ground.